So, I didn't end up here because I had always dreamt about working in television and film or in media. I kind of was just curious, and then I was definitely tenacious, and I just kind of kept plugging away and like seeing where it was going to lead me.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think it's important to ask for what you want or what you need, and then kind of affirm for yourself that it's possible. And really, media is super powerful. It's what shapes our identity. So that's really where I should have always been if I was wanting to make a difference in like reimagining what American identity looks and feels like. And
Yeah.
so that's how I got here.
Do you feel like what in your life inspired you or like kept you like saying your opinion so loudly, which I feel like is something that it's been a theme in the women filmmakers I've been speaking to, that they often feel like they had to grow into themselves. But like, did you just grow up with a lot of strong women role models?
I wish I could say that. Actually, my parents had a terrible marriage, and my dad raised us. I've been sober 8 years. My dad's been sober 28 years.
Wow.
So, alcoholism runs rampant in my family on both sides. So, when my parents split up, we actually ended up living with my father. Um, I think my feeling that I needed to speak up or that my opinion mattered came from like a desire to see myself included in these big conversations, and that nobody was gonna like know how important what I had to say was if I didn't present it as such.
Yeah.
So I think I just really wanted to be heard and wanted to teach people, and knew that I came from a special place, right? Being in Texas, which, my ancestors have been here for 5 generations. We didn't just get here, you know, uh, a hot minute ago or a decade ago. Like, we've been here. So it's fascinating to me that we've always gotten along here, in Texas, and the fluidity of like how we treat each other. And I wanted the country to know that. And so I've always been kind of eager to be like, let me explain something to y'all, or let me show you that I do love myself, and I know and I know I matter, and I know my opinion matters. And in fact, I had a nice coffee this morning with one of my dear friends, and she said, we need to get back to treating people with dignity. If we would just treat everyone with dignity, we wouldn't have all these problems that we are facing in our country. And I think she's right. And I think for the most part, Texas does do that. On occasion, certain things get politicized and kind of skewed.
Yeah.
But I am proud of where I come from. And so, yeah, I think that kind of made me naturally not be fearful of rejection or not feel like my opinion doesn't matter. I was always affirmed and encouraged in school. And then when I did come up with people that weren't doing that, I was able to have an intelligent conversation and kind of break it down and figure out why. Let's negotiate and find common ground. And in some of those conversations, I've developed some amazing friendships with people that we have complete and total different perspectives on things. And people assume we're not going to work well as a team at work, or we're on a volunteer project and we're just too different. And in all those occasions, usually I end up quite fond of whoever they put me working with, and we do find that common ground and we do a good job.
Yeah. Do you feel like the trick to staying civil with somebody that you have different agreements with is just talking? Like, what is your process with like, okay, this person has differing views than me, but how do I make them human to me? Or
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So I started out, I really went kids, especially that don't think they know what they want to be when they grow up, not to feel bad about changing your major, because I was president of the Hispanic Business Student Association when I switched from business to liberal arts. Um, and I'm a communications major. So naturally, it was like, I'm really good at interpersonal communication, group communication, strategy. How do you mediate and negotiate and bring people together? You know, a lot of times I think we make assumptions about people, and especially with social, we think we know everything about a person based on their profile or their likes or their interests.
Right.
And a lot of times we're wrong because we are making big giant assumptions, and I've been guilty of that also. And so I think if we can just remember that we are all human and we could treat other people the way we want to be treated. And sometimes, as they say, if you love your enemy, or love somebody that you have a lot of strife with, and you remind yourself that they deserve it, sometimes that's all they need. They want to be validated or heard or acknowledged, or you realize they've been marginalized for so long that now that they see you, they feel maybe comfortable picking on you, or taking like an offensive position. And a lot of times, if you just kind of stop and listen, it goes pretty far. Because if you just stop and listen instead of talking, you're going to hear from them what the issue is, or what's the thing that's blocking them from connecting with you. And then you're going to be able to go in and connect. Half the time, people just want to be heard and validated and acknowledged. So I think if we slow down and actually let someone talk and listen to what they have to say, it can go a long way.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great advice. I definitely think that a lot more people should hear that and should really listen to those words. But sort of speaking, going back on you working for the Obama administration, is that like correct to say?
Yeah. I was on the campaign side, but
Okay,
yeah.
working with the Obama campaign. And we talked a little bit in our intro call about different, I don't know, different policies that different people have brought about politically. But would you be able to shed some light on the history of certain campaigns regarding some immigration things that have happened throughout the past administrations, and how that's affected the Latinx community that you've seen?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. Look, immigration has been a hot topic. We haven't had an immigration reform comprehensively since the Reagan administration, and he did a really good job. Um, Obviously, we are a country of immigrants, and I think that probably in the late 80s, early 90s, it started being something that got politicized, and
And demonized too.
a Latino issue because of the southern border. When you look back in particular at the past, I want to say almost 8, maybe 10 years now of immigration, they're not coming from the South. They're actually coming from Asia, um, and other European countries. So it's very interesting to me that it has been politicized that way, and it's been positioned that way, to continue that rhetoric and throw a bunch of other problems and blame the immigrants for it, like the stuff going on with the cartels and narco trafficante. And so, a lot of this stuff has been wrongly, I guess, positioned as our problem. And the problem is, if we don't go and speak up and have the confidence, like you're talking about, that like our opinion matters, our perspective and our POV matters, then we just get drug into that garbage. So unfortunately, that's kind of what's happened in my experience personally. I am proud of the work that we were able to do for the Dreamers, and get that past the executive order in 2012. And I think I have a lot of hope for what the current administration is doing to try to do what we just talked about, which is listen to the people, listen to the other side, build consensus, work towards a shared vision, show the value proposition properly and position it the right way. So let's see what happens. I'm optimistic.